Thanks, Ian, and thanks again for joining Mike and Seth. So, Mike, maybe you can give the audience an introduction. Who is Bluprintx?
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Steve, and thanks for having us in today. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, so, Bluprintx are a company focused on solving customer challenges across their sales and marketing technologies, whether that's work management, marketing and sales automation, content delivery, or as we're discussing here today, digital asset management. Bluprint is a global company supporting customers around the globe with our headquarters in Liverpool in the UK, with our teams based in EMEA, North America, and APAC. Our experienced team has been implementing, integrating, and supporting digital asset management solutions now for over 25 years across all sorts of companies, brands, organizations, in all sorts of different fields. And as part of that team, we have Seth Anderson here, our Senior Director of Digital Asset Management Solutions, to give us a little bit of insight here.
Awesome. So, Seth, in your experience working with various parts of marketing technology, where do you see DAM overall fitting in the MarTech landscape?
Yeah, right on it. Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Mike, for those intros. Yeah, so just jumping right in, we really see DAM continues to be a really critical part of that MarTech ecosystem. I would say the standard cliche, it still holds, and if anything, it's even more relevant than ever. DAM is that single source of the truth at the core of your MarTech stack. We see, flexible and modern DAM solutions can store, organize, surface, and deliver just about any type of content. This slide we're looking at right now, it's a really high level overview of the content supply ecosystem, content supply chain, and it shows kind of the various, the interactions, integrations, and paths that content can take from concept all the way through to delivery. Starting on the left, we have this constantly changing and growing list of content types, everything that you use to reach and engage with your customers. Moving to the right and then kind of across the bottom here, we can plan, budget, and execute content creation. And we move over and we'll approve that content, in any type of content through an online approval solution. And then when we hit the DAM solution, this is where we're going to store, deliver, and orchestrate that content to all of these customer-facing platforms. The entire process is continuously iterated and improved through data insights and, of course, AI. Today, we're going to take a closer look at kind of the core here, this content production section of this diagram, and the three key platforms that enable that campaign planning, budgeting and work management, that content approval piece, and then, of course, digital asset management. All right, so starting at the top, I guess, here with content planning. Creation of content, it's a constantly growing and evolving challenge for any and all marketing departments or agencies. With the right planning and work management solution, you can really take a lot of the pain out of your process and help keep everything from multi-channel annual campaigns that run all year down to individual content updates or adaptations, and keep all of that on track. We've had a lot of success with Monday.com. It's a powerful and flexible platform that allows you to track and manage, all aspects of content planning in one place. You can start by building out requirements, schedules, and more for those high-level strategic campaigns, that are going to run across the entire year or even longer. Monday.com gives you the ability to use logic-driven request forms, if you will, to capture all the details that you would need for large-scale strategic creative briefs, content updates, adaptations, and more. And this can be extended to internal and external resources. So if you need to gather that information from partners, customers, or clients, you can extend that format and capture that information as needed. Once you have all of that information gathered and you're ready to kick it off, coordinate that content creation down to individual tasks with resource assignments, deadlines, and intuitive capacity planning across teams, departments, or possibly the entire agency, knowing when you have resources available and when there might be bottlenecks. Keep track of all of those project costs, expenses, and manage timelines with dynamic reporting capabilities. Have reports and alerts at your fingertips. We really see that with a powerful work management solution, you can move your process out of email, spreadsheets, and ad hoc solutions to a single platform and get that visibility and accountability for all aspects of your content production, workflow. Cool. And moving on, so content approval. Before any content gets published, before it gets in front of a customer, there is pretty much always the need to review, approve that content, capture feedback, probably make changes, and yeah, make that final approval of the asset so that it can be published and put in front of customers. A modern online proofing platform like PageProof can really make this process easy and intuitive for today's fast-paced work and, of course, distributed teams. Everything from a single static banner that may just need a second set of eyes before it goes out, down to up to a multi-page, online catalog or microsite. All of these things can be multi-page online. That needs feedback from multiple departments. If you have external stakeholders, legal or compliance needs to look at it. All of these, any content can be reviewed, uploaded into PageProof, reviewed, marked up, and approved as needed. As I mentioned just now, any type of content can really be uploaded or linked in PageProof, so you can leverage it to get that content in front of anyone. You can use a template, if you will, to make sure that it gets, various approval processes. So if you need it to go through 4 or 5 stages, through compliance, through legal, etc., you can use a pre-built template to get in front of the right people, or just manually add the right, person or handful of people and have them notified that their feedback is needed. Those stakeholders that receive that notification, they're able to review that content directly, from a web browser, a mobile app, and just about, pretty much just about any device, and leave that feedback, maybe request some changes, or approve or reject it from just about anywhere at any time. If changes are requested, that can be executed by your design team, and then routed back for review as many times as needed until that final approval is obtained. Integrations will allow the content to flow from your work management as going through that iteration and that ideation through the review and approval process and have that final approved asset hit the DAM. And last but not least, as we talk about this set of platforms that really accelerate your content production, the DAM, content orchestration. With MediaValet, you have a really powerful platform that can sit at the center of your content process to dynamically organize and distribute that content. Build and maintain a library of approved content across all media types, channels, audiences, and more. You can organize that content to meet your needs or potentially external client or partner requirements. Create different views, different categories, different ways of organizing that content so you can find assets the way you need to, and your clients and customers can find it the way they expect to. Manage the full content lifecycle with features like version control, expirations, and robust archiving capabilities to move that old content off to the side, but make sure that it's still accessible if you ever need to get back to it. A modern DAM it's a full-featured distribution hub, if you will. Covers all of your sharing and publishing needs. Distribute assets directly to clients and partners through custom portals or one-off shared links. You can also publish directly to downstream platforms like a CMS, social endpoints, e-com, email, and more using the built-in CDN. MediaValet also has a vast library of out-of-the-box integrations that you can leverage or build your own custom integration with its robust and open API. Streamline, you can also, as we talked about, so kind of closing this loop here, you can streamline that briefing, adaptation and content request process, with another aspect of integrating the DAM with your work management solution. Browse that DAM library directly from that at that brief creation stage and select existing approved content. Pick that up for adaptations, minor changes, etc., or even just inspiration for a new campaign.
Seth, that was a great overview of an insight as to what's happening in various phases and where. Um, but I was wondering if you could give some more specific examples just on the impact of when you integrate a DAM with a project management tool versus when they're working unconnected.
Yeah, Steve, you bet. So far, kind of talked about the tools, how they can impact, maybe a real high level, how they can be integrated. So let's take as you mentioned, a closer look at how Monday.com and MediaValet integration can really help out your overall process. You can streamline everything and really, reduce work and make your content available immediately. So details on the screenshot, that might be a little bit hard to see, but we start at the top here, the top image with a Monday.com board. Call it a content or production board. In this board, we can capture details about the content being produced or updated using custom columns inside of Monday. We could enter details like asset or media type, and we could have a column for region, country, campaign, product, etc., whatever is relevant to you and whatever you need to capture and assign to your assets so that they're searchable and distributable. All this will align with the asset or set of assets that are being created and approved on the row that you see here. Then these columns that you've created inside of Monday, they can be mapped directly to attributes or categories inside of MediaValet, if you will. When that asset is approved through the process that we talked about earlier, it's approved and pushed to MediaValet, it will come over with all of those map values that you've already captured in Monday.com. No need to re-enter that when it hits the DAM, when it hits MediaValet. Mapping to specific categories can ensure that assets, land in the exact right location when they make it to MediaValet, and that they're secured when they hit that. They're only visible to the appropriate audience as soon as they arrive. Custom attributes and values enable that search and filtering capabilities immediately and save a ton of time for DAM librarians or administrators. They don't have to go through here and apply all of this metadata. It's come over and you've been building this up through that entire process. Update it in Monday, send it to MediaValet, eliminate all that waste, and make stuff available as soon as you get there. This is just one of the many ways integrating your content supply ecosystem can have an immediate impact on the efficiency of your asset production process, and of course, the value of your content library.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Seth. And I know Mike mentioned at the introduction there that there's over 25 years of experience with Bluprintx working in DAM. And Seth, I know that you've been working with DAM systems for over 15 years now, not to date ourselves, but was wondering in your experience, what sort of differentiators you've been seeing as of late in, the 2020s era?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Definitely, we've seen, DAM requirements, DAM technologies grow and evolve throughout the years. And I think there was a real big catalyst about 5 years ago. As most of us experienced, COVID really drastically changed the way people work and how marketing, content was created, the process for that. Prior to this shift, most everyone was in the office, and it often made a lot of sense to store your content on premise, deliver it ad hoc as needed, and kind of manage that publishing as needed. But with this shift, the distributed workforces, people working from home, working remotely, distributed offices, etc., there was this demand we really see this demand for content to be accessible from anywhere. It needs to be stored in a fully featured cloud-native DAM that can be easily accessed by anyone from any location or device. Companies and users are looking for DAM solutions that have a lot of these following features, which we see MediaValet really excels at. A modern interface, something that's really, modern, evolving, intuitive, and easy to use. Today's workforce expects their business tools, they expect them to be as easy to learn and use as many of the consumer products that they also interact with on a daily basis. Another key piece is, for companies is having a product that's fast and easy to set up. We don't want to look at, looking at, taking on a 6, 9, 12-month multi-year project before you see any value from that investment. With MediaValet, you can get your DAM off the ground, set up, ready to go with content in it in a matter of weeks or just a couple of months, depending on how complex that is, and really start to experience the value right away. When we talk about all these distributed workforces and stakeholders, clients, customers, partners, etc., flexible user permissions, really key to the DAM. There's a whole lot of content that's being created. That content needs to be secured, but it also needs to be made readily available to the right audience at the right time. Having the ability to extend content and make it available and expire, etc., at the right time is important, and MediaValet does a really good job of giving you all the tools at your fingertips to do that. Speed and scalability. One thing, there's more and more content, there's larger content all the time, and being able to access it quickly again all over the world from anywhere is critical. The content libraries are constantly growing, kind of platform handle at 1 terabyte, couple terabytes, and a few thousand assets. Will the performance of the platform still be the same, still be acceptable as we ramp up to 10, 20, 30 terabytes of millions of assets? That becomes really key. That scalability is critical. And of course, we definitely have to talk a little bit about innovation with AI. That's critical to any platform, any technology that you're exploring today. With the DAMs and with MediaValet, we see it happening in a lot of ways. From that original impact of auto tagging assets with keywords, etc., and seeing that now extend into audio and video intelligence with transcripts and timestamps for that metadata tag or keyword, facial recognition, or even smart image search, helping you capture synonyms, and also similar assets, etc., as you're going through a search. We've talked about having people all over the world on different devices. That we need a responsive platform that's full featured, either from a desktop or laptop all the way down to the mobile device. I need to be able to have all of those capabilities at my fingertips, no matter where I am, no matter what I'm on. And last but not least, the DAM, it's still just part of that content ecosystem. It needs to be readily and easily integrated with the rest of your tool stack, something that you can really take advantage with an existing library of robust integrations, or that really open, well-documented and flexible API to build those custom integrations that you might need.
Great layout, Seth. I know that maybe you could dive into a specific example. I understand that there was a recent customer who had been working with Bluprintx for a while on a legacy platform that recently went through a migration. Could you add some color? I think it was Telescope as a customer.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. You bet. Yeah, Telescope. So as you mentioned, longtime customer of ours. They are an online catalog design customer. So they create online catalog and online content. They do the design for quite a few customers in the UK. They had been working on a legacy, on-premise DAM platform for many, many years, and were really starting to outgrow it. Their requirements and their customers' requirements were just no longer being met. MediaValet turned out to be an excellent fit for them. They were able to, take advantage of a lot of, new modern features, easily migrate into the platform, and improve, almost every aspect of their DAM capabilities with this migration to MediaValet. One of the key things they're able to take advantage of, the MediaValet branded portals, right? They're distributing assets to their customers, different sets of assets, different sets of metadata, different ways of finding assets. So the branded portal really was allowed them to give that tailored customer experience to each of their customers for delivering that content. As any customer that's used to working, on an on-premise DAM, they're used to really, being able to edit and work directly in the DAM. CI Hub integration with MediaValet, for those of you that may or may not be familiar with it, that integrates your DAM directly with your Adobe Creative Cloud applications and allows you to open and edit pretty much any Adobe native file from your desktop or laptop and edit directly in the DAM. As we talked about earlier, that page-proof integration, this was something that was critical to the Telescope team. They're able to now route stuff directly to those clients or customers for review and approval directly out of MediaValet. So taking that editing, sending versions out, and getting that feedback and getting to that final approved version directly in the platform. And then last but not least, I know there was a session earlier this week. Telescope was really able to take advantage of mark templating, to create templates for all of the various repeatable materials that they're creating for their customers, be it a weekly flyer or a monthly or quarterly catalog. Those templates can be built out, really streamlining their process and really, speeding up their time to market, getting stuff in front of customers much quicker, and really cutting down on that development time.
Awesome. Thanks for the story, Seth. So, Mike, I know a lot of folks attending today might be curious, filling out pieces of their tech stack or where to maybe make potential integrations. So for those that are curious about where they're at on their journey and what to do next, what's your recommendation?
Well, it can be very daunting, Steve, to know where to start. You look at what you've got, and I think people buy technology and are wondering where they're getting the value from it. And often the right pieces may be partly already in place. It may need to add another platform here and there. It's really about going in and taking a look at what you've got and seeing how the journey can look. So going through the technology, what's involved to turn that into what's needed, to make the assessments of the technology and where to bridge any gaps, whether that's just purely spending some time to tweak what's there or to replace a technology with something else. From our point of view, we like to help on the journey, come in, do that assessment, see what's what, and make recommendations to improve and to have a goal in the future to aim for. Obviously, we want to do that as efficiently as possible for customers to make sure they get the maximum return. But really, it all starts with a conversation. What do you have and where do you want to go?
Awesome. And with that, I'm going to leave your contact info for anyone attending that would like to proactively reach out to either yourself or Seth. Thanks again for the overview, Mike, Seth. We are going to open up now for some questions. I'm keeping my eye on the chat here. And the first one we see are, what are the main hurdles you've seen when people are trying to connect various tools and technologies?
Yeah, that's a great one. I would, I can jump in here. I think what we often see is this desire to integrate for the sake of integration is kind of what we call it, before really understanding what the value could be for integrating your platforms and for understanding that. So I guess it's not necessarily a hurdle. I don't think there are very few limitations with modern platforms these days. There's open APIs, there's out-of-the-box integration, there's a lot of ways to get to that. But understanding the use cases that would lead to your integration are really important so that you can design that integration, build that out, and test it and get the impact of a targeted integration, and avoid just integrating for the sake of integrating. Integrate with a purpose.
I think that rolls into the next question, which is, what are some early wins organizations can look for when implementing an integrated DAM, project management, and workflow solution?
Yeah, I think some of the really early wins, I would say, I think we talked a little bit about those today, reducing a lot of that, replication of work, making sure that your assets are, tagged and valuable as soon as they hit the dam. So when you're capturing all of that information up front, be it a, channel, region, whatever your custom, metadata might be. Maybe it's expiration dates or usage rights that you're able to capture, in that project or work management solution that's going to follow through. You're covered for all of that from a compliance standpoint. You're covered for all of that from an organization standpoint right out of the gate. And when it hits the dam, you're ready to go. You're taking a lot of the burden off of that librarian or dam administrator, and your content is immediately has value as soon as it hits the dam.
Great. Just keeping an eye on some additional questions. I see one here. Any key metrics or KPIs that teams should track to measure the success of their connected content ecosystem?
Uh, Yeah, that's a really good one. There's a handful of things that come to mind. A couple of things that we've seen tracked and seem to be really effective. I guess I kind of fall back a little bit on that. Um, this entire process and that online proofing tool. One thing we've seen really happen when you have that cohesive proofing tool and the really comprehensive brief, you can reduce the rounds of revision, if you will. So that's one thing that can really be effective for timeline, for costs, etc. Another thing you can start to see and capturing it on the dam side, once you start to really build out that library, you'll start to be able to measure reuse of content. So if you've got components and stuff that that gets put into multi-part, content, if you will, websites, etc., you can start to see, how often an asset is used or reused, directly in that dam, see the relationships potentially that it has. And that's a really important thing to start to build that, what's the most effective type of content? Where else can I use it?
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. I'm getting pinged by our host Ian here that we're right on time. So thank you again, Mike and Seth, for the overview today. Thanks for everyone who attended this session, and I know that there's one more to follow. So hope everyone enjoys the rest of this damn week.
Wonderful. Thanks, everyone.
Yes, thank you. Take care.